The number 10th trade target is Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram is not going to be a Pelican next year. So is he the hottest guy? Is he the best player that's probably on the trade market? He might be up there. Honestly, he might be up there. And he is definitely, what I'm going to say, the most certain to be traded. Like I mentioned last week, was he on the list? No, he was not. Herb Jones was on the list last week. But he had tension. He got benched in that last playing game, so he's going to be gone. Because you need good vibes. Ultimately, that's what you need to win in basketball. To go far in basketball, you need good vibes. And it's spoiled. It's stinky. It's gross in the between the Pelicans and Brandon Ingram. So that's the problem. So he's going to get traded. Who's he going to get traded for? Darius Garland? Here's the thing. What's really annoying is while I was doing research for this video, everyone was talking about the like the Cavs are going to blow it up. Bickerstaff got fired. They're going to trade Donovan Mitchell if he doesn't extend. Now everyone's saying he's going to extend. He's coming up on the list. I'm going to spoil it. But they say, oh, they're not trading their big four. That's what the Cavs are saying. They're not trading anyone. I call bullshit. They're trading someone. They're going to trade Jared Allen at least. Without a doubt. Like I said, things got spoiled there. They said, hey, it sounds like his team and his coaches said they wish he would have done more to try to play in the playoffs. Dude, you don't come back from that. You don't mend the relationship from someone calling you a bitch. Someone calling you weak. Someone saying you have a low pain threshold. So Brandon Ingram, he's probably upset with the Pelicans. He's getting out of there. I think they could do a Garland trade. I think that could work. Get a point guard for the Pelicans. Trade away their shooting guard. Because that's the thing about the Pelicans is they have that depth. That is what they have. So if you get Garland in there, Ingram only played 64 games. I guess that's quite a bit of games. It's more than I thought. But he does have an injury history. Of course, Garland, he sat out a bit too. So, I don't know. They say they're not going to trade him, but I like this trade. I would like to see Darius Garland somewhere else. And I'd like to see Brandon Ingram in Cleveland. I think that would be cool. Because he's eligible. Here's the thing. He's eligible for a 4-year, $208 million extension this year. He has 1 year left, and he's getting paid $36 million. I don't even think the Pelicans want to pay him that $36 million. That's the thing. I don't think they're interested in that. So they're going to try to get off of him. That's the way it's going to be. Philly for picks, they could do a sign. I think Philly only has, Reed and Embiid are the only guys that are signed vets, not on rookie contract. Because I think, Maxi's a free agent, but they're going to, he's a restricted free agent. He's going to sign. So they could do a sign and trade with Hield and Harris, who are both free agents, but I believe the Pelicans are over the cap. Do the Pelicans want Harris and Hield? Probably not. So there are going to be picks in it. Probably some of those picks that Philly got from the Clippers, I would assume. Some of those coming back. I don't know. Pelicans probably aren't interested in Harris or Hield. Hield couldn't even, either of those guys. Harris played like trash. Hield stopped getting into games. They went with Cameron Payne, two guys that are, if they're not making threes, they're not playing, because that's kind of what they do. Of course, Nets could trade their depth. You're going to see this a lot. Dorian Finney-Smith package, Cam Johnson package, Dennis Schroeder package, because they're re-signing Claxton. They're going to do that. Of course, this is what's funny to me is, why would the Nets do anything? Really? Why try to be good? But there are more. The Nets come up a lot in some of these trades that would imply that the Nets want to be good and they want to compete. I don't think they should. I don't know. Even though they're in the East and the East sucks, I still think it's like, dude, what are you going to do? How are you going to improve that team to make them good in the now? Build around Mikal Bridges, who didn't even have a great season. Pacers could trade depth for Brandon Ingram, but Brandon Ingram, he's negative asset. I'm going to say the cost is too much. That's what I'm going to say for what he brings to the table. But it's close. He's not Zach LaVine, but he is sort of like the price, and you're going to, you get him for 1 year, so don't give him up too much unless you're like, you know what, we actually think he's good. We're going to build around him. We like Brandon Ingram. Because next year he's a free agent. So you got to extend him. $208 million is just too much for Brandon Ingram. I don't think he's proved himself as a star player in that sense. One all-star team? No. Cat, man. Cat's a good player, but he's just way too expensive. $49 million over 4 years. 49, and then it goes up to $61 million. It's just way too much money for a guy that got 21 points last year. I've just recently talked about him. So they got to get off that contract. And Karl Anthony Towns needs to go to a team that he's going to be the main guy because he's paid like a main guy. He's one of the highest paid players in the league, and he's not one of the best players paid. He's not one of the best players in the league, but could he be? Could he be if he was put in a place where he could shine? DeJounte Murray and Bogdan Bogdanovic. What do you think of that? What do you think of Cat and Trae Young on the same team? Because, Atlanta does have like DeAndre Hunter on defense. Who else do they have on defense? I don't know. Sadiq Bey is not really much of a defender either. They need, I don't know. They kind of need that DeJounte Murray. They need something there. You'd have too much scoring. You have too much guys that are just super dependent on getting the ball and putting it in the hoop and don't really have a mind to play defense. Not that they can't play defense, but that's not where their head's at, typically. So I don't like it. Karl Anthony Towns and Trae Young, they're both very expensive. I don't think they're going to do it. Brandon Ingram and Larry Nance Jr. Here's the thing. Larry Nance Jr. is good. He's one of those guys, he's kind of the opposite of Ingram, where there's not a lot of dependency on him, so he can be really efficient. I like that. I actually really do like that. I would like to see Brandon Ingram I think he'd work in Minnesota. I think he could sort of play similar to what Karl Anthony Towns was doing. And Larry Nance can, you lose a 4-5 in Karl Anthony Towns and you get Larry Nance who can play a 5-2. I like it. I'm in on that trade. What do you think? I think that would be good. It'd be interesting. Sometimes you just want to see players in new jerseys, You just want to see things switch up. And I think that would be interesting. Karl Anthony Towns in a Pelicans jersey. At this point, when you imagine the jerseys, it doesn't really matter because there's so many alternate jerseys. You imagine them in the colors and you're like, which jersey? He could be wearing red and play for the Pelicans. Trae Young, less money, less time. They could do that. They could just say, hey, you know what? We'll take Trae Young. We'll swap your guy who's your big-time scorer doesn't play defense for our big-time scorer doesn't play defense. How about that? Let's just see how that goes down. The thing is, the Hawks would say, we really want Karl Anthony Towns because he's got 4 more years on that contract. Where it's like, we want him to be our team. Versus Trae, it's only 3 years and it's less money. So that might be something that the Minnesota Timberwolves might get into. They might be like, hey, we'll put Trae Young next to Anthony Edwards. He's not as expensive as Karl Anthony Towns, and he's not on as long of a contract. Because remember, the Wolves don't like to spend money. Jeremy Grant, and this is kind of embarrassing because he was on my worst contracts list, but I think his contract is good. I actually think I liked Jeremy Grant before he was signed to the Blazers. I thought he was a good player. He got a pretty decent contract in Detroit. He was good on the Nuggets. He's good. He showed up on a lot of people's worst contract lists. I was wrong. I actually think he's good, and I actually think he's a great trade asset. 21 points a game. His free throw percentage is good. His 3-point percentage is good. His field goal percentage is decent. He's a good player, and he's got 4 years. He signed a 5-year deal. So he's got 4 more years left, $29 million. It goes up to $36 million. It's good, and I think the Blazers are going to trade him because there's no sense in having him on such a long contract. He's not the future of their team. I don't know what the future of that team is, but it ain't Jeremy Grant. And a lot of teams could use him. So Bruce Brown, my favorite contract in the league, where there's a team option. So the Toronto Raptors have him, and they have the option of keeping him on for $22 million. They could do that. Or they could trade him, and then the Portland Trail Blazers would have that option, which they might pick up and they might not. I bet they wouldn't. They'd probably, what's it to them? So Brown could become a free agent. They could do that. Or Mitchell Robinson. Let's say Hartenstein re-signs with the Knicks. And they're kind of like, we kind of like him. Robinson, you're a little bit expensive. You're kind of redundant. We'll send you packing. You can figure it out in Portland. And they grab Jeremy Grant. The Knicks do. I don't hate it. I kind of like it, honestly. Why do I say honestly? Like I'd lie to you? And then the Lakers, this is the first time we're going to see the Lakers poo-poo platter. Because every team has a poo-poo platter that they try to offer up, Every team has one. They try to give it away and say, hey, we'll offer you. And it's like always a lot of players. It's Rui Hachimura. I've never been a Rui fan since he's been a Laker. Rui is one of the players, I will say, Rui doesn't look like he knows what he's doing out there. I don't have his stats in front of me, but when I watch Rui seems a little bit lost all the time. He seems like, am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? Am I doing this right? Am I playing basketball right? Am I doing well? He seems a little bit lost out there. You know who I actually think is the opposite? And regardless of what you say about his stats, looks very confident out there? Patrick Beverley. Patrick Beverley looks like he knows what he's doing. Always. I don't know what it is, but it always looks like he's playing with purpose and he's always doing something intentionally. Versus Rui and Mo Bamba look to me like guys that are like, I'm just trying to not get benched. That's my opinion. Maybe that's not a bad way to play, but Gabe Vincent, who I liked at the Heat, but just so injury prone at the Lakers. So could you get Jeremy Grant for a second round pick, Rui Hachimura, and Gabe Vincent? I'm assuming the salaries match. I found these trade propositions online. Lauri Markkanen is the thing you see is one more year left on that contract. So $18 million for 1 year. And the Jazz aren't trying to win. They have no need for a good player. Danny Ainge is trying to rack up assets. He's trying to be the Sam Presti. He's trying to be like, look at all these assets I got. Because he's also the guy that bragged about his trade exception. He bragged about a trade exception. Which is kind of funny. Oh, what did I'm going to go back. Brandon Ingram. So the Nets could just, or the Philly doesn't have to do a sign and trade. They could trade him into cap space. So then the Pelicans would have a trade exception. They could go over the salary cap, $36 million. If they were to trade him, because, what's it called? A non-simultaneous trade gives you a trade exception, meaning that you're trading away picks. So Philly would be trading away picks, and then the Pelicans would be only getting picks, and they wouldn't be trading any salaries because the Sixers would be absorbing Brandon Ingram's contract into cap space, therefore giving them a trade exception, enabling them to sign free agents. Are they going to sign any free agents this year? I don't know. But I thought I would mention that, what a non-simultaneous trade is and how you would get a trade exception. So, Lauri Markkanen, 1 year, $18 million. And he can only, so he's eligible for an exception or an extension. So, he can only be extended for 140% of his current salary. He's only getting paid $18 million right now. He doesn't want an extension because he wants more money. That's the thing. He wants more money. So extending him now, he'd get what? I can't do the math, but he'd get like, what, 30 million? Something like that? Less than 30 million. So he's like, I'm not signing an extension here. No way. I'll wait until next year when I'm eligible for a max contract somewhere, or I'm eligible to make more money. So they probably will send him packing because I think the Utah Jazz are like, we don't care. We want to be good in 20 years. You wait. We're going to have 400 first-round picks. You know what I'm saying? So they're, Danny Ainge is in his hoarding phase. He's like on that show Hoarders, but it's with draft assets. So the Lakers could give him the 17th pick this year, which they have, and then give him the poo-poo platter. The poo-poo platter is going to be Rui, some combination of Rui, Gabe, D'Angelo Russell, and Hood Schifino. Some combination of that plus a pick. So 17th pick plus the poo-poo platter. Because you're basically, the Lauri Markkanen contract seems good because you're like, only $18 million for like a past all-star and a guy that, he only played 55 games this year, but he got 23 points a game. He's good. But it's only 1 year. It's a rental. It's like, okay, well, we get Lauri Markkanen. If we're the Lakers, can that turn our team around? I don't necessarily think it couldn't. You gotta like size, man. Size is key. Size is so key in the NBA. OKC should trade a bunch of picks, though. That's what OKC should do. Honestly, they have too many picks because you're eventually going to have to pay these guys. They're going to trade Giddey this offseason, but they should just trade picks for Lauri Markkanen. They need another big guy. They need another guy with size. Next to Chet. I've been talking about this for a long time. Everyone's been talking about this for a long time. You got all these picks. You can't take them with you. When you die, you can't take your draft picks. Trade them. Just do it. Jared Allen, of course. Remember, a lot of bad news coming out of the Cavs camp saying, we wish he would have shoved a needle in his arm and kept playing in the playoffs, And Jared Allen's like, yeah, he was doing that. He was doing it. Nah, I don't think so. I don't think I'm really interested in that. I think I want to play for more years to come. I'm 25 years old. So you could do Larry Nance Jr. again. Kind of fills that center role. You have to move Evan Mobley in and say, hey, you're center now? Because Larry Nance Jr. is going to be the 4 because Jared Allen's gone. And then Dyson Daniels, who he was a G League Ignite guy that I was really excited about, but he hasn't really proven himself to be as good as I thought he would be. I'm kind of bummed out with the G League Ignite guys. I was hoping they'd be better because I really gassed that whole program up. It's unfortunate. They get the 21st pick, though. Jared Allen going down to the Pelicans. The Pelicans are going to make some moves, apparently. I'm telling you, the Pelicans are going to make some moves this offseason. Oh, they want Jared Allen because they might lose Valanciunas because he's a free agent now. I believe he's a free agent right now. He might walk for nothing. So they need a center. Marcus Smart. They could get Marcus Smart. 2 first-rounders. Would you like that? Would you like that if you're the Cavs? 2 first-rounders for Marcus Smart? I guess if you're trading Darius Garland, you need a point guard. It's not bad if you can figure out a way to do it. Marcus Smart would probably be the backup point guard. I don't hate it, but I also don't care. It's not exciting to me. It's kind of like, okay, I guess. All right, I guess Jared Allen is a Grizzly now. I'm not sure what Steven Adams' contract situation's like. But they do need rebounding. Because what we discovered last week is Jaren Jackson Jr. doesn't rebound, tragically. Kuz said he didn't want to go to the Mavs. Isn't that interesting? He was like, I like what we're building in Washington. What? What are you building in Washington? The team was a joke. This was at the trade deadline. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but that team was not very good. They weren't building anything. I don't know. Maybe he's enjoying his life in Washington, D.C. and didn't want to join the Mavs. Could be in, who's to say, butterfly effect. Who's to say if they traded for Kyle Kuzma, not got P.J. Washington, maybe not got Daniel Gafford. Who's to say? Maybe they wouldn't have made the finals. I don't know. I'm recording this before Game 4, so forgive me if, forgive my lack of knowledge of what happened on Friday, Or if you're watching this later after it's released on Tuesday, I don't know. So you could get Jared Vanderbilt and change and filler Hood Schifino. You're going to need picks too coming back. This is more sort of poo-poo platter. I forgot Jared Vanderbilt was on the Lakers. Yeah, he is. Because they got rid of Beasley, but they kept Vanderbilt. Yeah, you would need to throw some more picks because the Lakers do now have picks to trade. So they could do that. They could bring him back. I don't think they would. I feel like it's so awkward to bring a guy back that you traded away. Especially with Kuz. I don't think I wouldn't. If he didn't want to go, because they kind of left it up to him to trade him to the Mavs, and he was like, I don't want to do it. I want to stay here. I got a feeling he'd say the same thing about going back to Los Angeles. What about Andrew Wiggins in a first rounder? Think about that. I feel like it'd be a very Wizards move to believe that you could rehabilitate Andrew Wiggins' career and get a first rounder from the Golden State Warriors. Oh, or Barnes, Keon Ellis, Kobe Jones. Kobe Jones is kind of filler. Hate to say it. Or in the 13th pick in this draft for Kuz. I like that a lot. Because Kuz is an upgrade from Barnes. Not like a crazy upgrade, but it is an upgrade and it does make their team better. I do like that. I'd like to see that. That's the one. I'd like to see Kuz in a Kings jersey. KKK. Shit's fucked up. 4 years, 25 to 31 million for DeJounte Murray. It's a pretty good contract. I think a lot of teams are going to want this and they're going to give up a lot for him. So here's the Nets poo-poo platter that I found. Dorian Finney-Smith, Dennis Schroeder, who I love. I'll always have a place in my heart for Schroeder. I like his game. I think he's a good rim finisher. There's something about him. 2 first-rounders and Dorian Finney. Again, but what are the Nets going to do with DeJounte Murray? Be good? No. You know what I mean? You got Mikal Bridges and DeJounte Murray. Like, yeah, they're good players, but like that's not going to... You're going to be a play-in team, so don't give up anything for him. Suggs and Jonathan Isaac, again, I'd say no. Suggs and Isaac, those are great defenders, and those are great players, and it's just not worth it. No, I found that online. I would absolutely say Orlando's like, how about you fuck off, man? We're doing just fine over here. Ingram for DeJounte, and okay. Yeah, I don't know. Who cares, man? Ingram, DeJounte, filler. Maybe you put Capella in the deal. His contract's pretty expensive. You let that thing expire. Capella can stay on the court. I don't know. I just don't think... It's just kind of like, I'll trade you my tomato for your tomato. It's just not that interesting. Or the Lakers poo-poo with the first and second round pick. Do you give them the Gabe Vincent, whatever it takes to make the salaries match? Gabe Vincent, or who has the D'Angelo Russell, have him opt in if he's interested and say, hey, what do you think of Atlanta? He seems like a guy that would really like the ATL, right? D'Lo? Maybe because he reminds me of Lou Williams. I don't know. You could probably... There's something there. DeJounte Murray in LA. I like it. I'm in. Jimmy Butler. Okay, because Jimmy was hanging out in LA at the Sparks game, hanging out with Cameron Brink, her favorite player. So he was wearing Lakers or Sparks colors. And then the Riley sneak diss. I don't know if y'all remember that. Riley's like, hey, you shouldn't be saying what would have happened if you weren't injured when you were injured. And Riley doesn't like the fact that they're paying Jimmy a max contract and he only played 60 games, which isn't terrible. But if you're Pat Riley and you want the grittiest, most hard-nosed grindstone team you can possibly get, you want him playing more than 60 games. So I could see Jimmy getting traded. So what about 3 first-rounders and 3 pick swaps from the Sixers to the Heat? Again, trading him into cap space. So this would create a trade exception. It's not bad for the Heat. You get back just like you get Jimmy off the books, which isn't necessarily a great thing. I'm not saying it is. But you get Jimmy off the books and you get a lot of draft capital back from the Sixers. I think that's what's going to happen. I think so. Or you could do Andrew Wiggins and Chris Paul in a 2007, 2008 pick swap. That's basically Andrew Wiggins you're just like taking on because, for the picks. Chris Paul, his contract is non-guaranteed. I think it's like partially guaranteed to some degree. So you just kind of take that giant contract on to make the giant Jimmy salary work. So I think that's what you do. But you get the pick and the pick swaps. I don't think they do that either. I think they want to, that would involve Miami being like, we're going to blow it up and we're going to sort of change the dynamic of the team if we're getting back Chris Paul and Andrew Wiggins in exchange for a player as good as Jimmy Butler. I don't think they're going to do it. Or the DeAndre Hunter, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Onyeka Okongwu, 2004 first rounder, 2009, and 2030. Well, the 2009 is a pick swap. That's how, you can't trade 2 picks in a row. That's the rule. I believe that's the Ted Stepien rule. And what you can do is trade a pick swap, which means you swap picks. You swap if you want to. The team with the pick swap gets the pick if they do swap or not. So you get a lot back. I think that's maybe that feels tempting because you get all these draft picks back and you get DeAndre Hunter who you're like, he was good at defense. He was a 4th pick overall that one year, but he's been pretty disappointing. Bogdanovich could shoot threes, but you kind of got a Duncan Robinson already. So, I don't know. I'd like to see him go to back to the Sixers. Trey's like one of my favorite players. He's one of my favorite players to watch. I'm a Trey stan, but he's a coach killer. He is. Who's it? Lloyd? What was it? Lloyd? I forget his first coach's name. But then Nate McMillan. Now he's on Quinn Snyder. So I think he might be hard to work with. 2005, would you take a 2005 first rounder, 2006 pick swap, 2007 back from, this is the trade that you would get, basically everything you gave to the Spurs for DeJounte Murray, you would then get back by trading away Trae Young. What do you think of that? Trae Young with Victor Wembanyama, lob, catastrophe. That'd be amazing. I like those two together because for whatever Trae Young lacks on defense, Victor Wembanyama is like 2 people. He's like 3 people. So you get that back. What about the Lakers poo-poo plus Austin Reeves? Because Austin Reeves wasn't in the OG poo-poo. You throw him in with 2 first-rounders for Trae Young. It's a lot to give up, but I'd like to see the Lakers do it. Why not? What about Jonathan Isaac, Jalen Suggs, and a 2025 unprotected first-round pick? Giving up a lot of defense, but Orlando does need a scorer. They need a good 3-point shooter, which Trey's pretty good. He's a lot of, he would work. 37%, takes a lot of attempts, high volume. He'd work. Yeah. I don't hate that, but Isaac and Suggs are so good on defense and such an important part of that team. They wouldn't do it. Let's see if I can do this with one. And Donovan Mitchell's like the most coveted. And of course, when I do my research, they're like, Cleveland's not, he's going to extend there. He's definitely going to extend, which I do think, I put in my notes, I do think he does extend. He has a player option. So basically, you're trading for next year. If someone did trade for him, they're trading for next year because the next year he has a player option. So you might get it, you might not. So it's not that valuable. I think he does extend, though. Let's talk about the trades, though. Let's see if we can make it through. Lakers poo-poo plus 3 first-rounders. Lakers now have 3 first-rounders they can trade available. That'd be pretty fun. What about Jaime Hawkins Jr., Tyler Hero, Caleb Martin, and picks? Maybe. I added the and picks part. The thing I looked up, it had Jaime, Tyler, just Jaime and Tyler. I think you need to throw in Caleb Martin. I think you need to throw in picks for Donovan Mitchell. I think you'd have to. I don't think you have a choice. Or the ultimate sampler platter of the ultimate like popcorn trail mix sampler platter of Cameron Johnson, Dorian Finney-Smith, Cam Thomas. Basically the Nets. The whole Nets core. Cam Thomas, a first-round pick from Phoenix, a 2008 first-round pick, a 2030 first-round pick. You just give up so much. You would just be giving away so... Oh, man. Could you imagine if the Nets were like, we're going to lay out for it. We're going to get Donovan Mitchell. Yeah, we're really going to go for it. We got Donovan Mitchell. We got Mikal Bridges. And we got Nick Claxton and Dennis Schroeder. Who's going to stop us? I think just about everyone. But I believe Mitchell's just going to stick around in Cleveland, which I'd like to see. I like him in Cleveland. He's had a lot of, if you really think about it, he's probably had more success in Cleveland than he did in Utah. He never made a All-NBA team in Utah. Remember that like 74-point game he got? That was in Cleveland. He won that, of course they did, I think Utah Jazz, they did win a couple first rounds of the playoffs. Now, he did it in Cleveland too. So, and George Niang says he believes Donovan Mitchell is going to stick around. And when he said that, I felt like he meant it. You know, you can kind of gauge the way people, by the way people talk, their own level of sincerity and their own level of delusion. He seemed like he didn't confidently say it, but he was like, I feel good about it, which is cool. I'd like to see that team stay intact. But Jared Allen is getting traded. Maybe Garland too. So, all right, thanks for being here. Be good to your mothers. Eat a corn dog.